Hi everybody, this is Todd Creager. I'm known for the moniker of making the world safe for love, and that's a passion of mine to help the world be safe for love. Right now, the world is going through a tough time with the COVID-19 virus, and of course there's health fears and there's financial fears. What I want to talk about is something that it hasn't really been too much in the frontline news, but it has been, I found it, and it's about domestic violence being on the rise during this crisis where we're on lockdown and many people are stuck together as families and as couples because of what we have to do to deal with it. So I want to read some statistics that I found here that I thought was really important, and then I'm going to end with what can we do about it. The UN Security Secretary Attorney General actually said that domestic violence is globally surging, and there are in Spain and France especially that a lot of the helplines have really spiked in calling. In the UK, they had there was a 25% increase for their National Domestic Abuse Hotline. And in Australia, the internet searches for domestic violence resources jumped 75%, and the similar stats from India and South Africa. Now, here in the United States, there's some issues too. There were 18 of 22 U.S. law enforcement agencies saw a rise in domestic violence in March. There's a place in South Carolina, and I can't remember the region now. I apologize for that. But they saw an increase of 35% of calls to hotlines. And a lot of it is financial stress. And that's a real issue, that people are really going through a lot of financial stress. They have found in the U.S. that there's been an increase in domestic violence calls all around. And the director of the Center of Domestic Violence at the University of Colorado in Denver, she said that the shutdown is like a petri dish for violence when it comes to for increasing, I guess, within families. So that's a big deal. Those are some major statistics. Those are significant statistics. So why I thought it was important to do this Facebook Live was because since I work a lot with couples and families and individuals, that what can we do about it? Now, first of all, I think that there are some couples and families where there already was domestic violence beforehand. So there's like a pre-existing condition. And then a situation like this that creates the health fears, the financial fears, and the close quarters can all increase those fears tremendously. And that's one problem. There are other situations where there are people who haven't really had these kinds of issues, but because of the tremendous stress of what people are going through, as well as the close quarters and lack of space, can create these kinds of problems. So, what to do about it, right? Now, first of all, I think if you're a family that has already had some of these problems, I would not hesitate to reach out. People like myself are doing virtual counseling, coaching, therapy, whatever you want to call it, and you should not be on your own. You need ways to learn how to deal with your feelings and regulate in healthier ways. I've worked with some people that lately it hasn't been in my practice domestic violence as much, but there's definitely been more conflict in some couples, and they've learned techniques of self-regulation, of stress management, and of communication. So reach out. That's the first thing I could say. Now, in terms of how to deal with anything that's starting to erupt, catch it, take it very seriously, and begin talking about what's going on with you, with each other. Again, reaching out to a professional like myself, but you need to process these things. This doesn't just go away. I would recommend some kind of relaxation response. We need breaks. There are we're bombarded by these news stories that are stressful. It all adds up. And I think we need to know what's going on. So I'm not saying don't tune in to what's going on, but I think we need breaks to relax, to meditate. I even think it's important to just bracket some time to play or dance or sing together. We can't be just waiting and waiting and waiting for the crisis to pass to bring up different parts of ourselves that could help cope better. But what we don't want is to let the fears and the stress that so much take over that we become harmful to ourselves and the people we love. The other thing is to make sure that there are some times where you're alone, to create some space. Of course, some people that live in tight quarters, it's a little more challenging, but get creative or create shifts where you know this is your own alone time, if space is one of the issues. Financial challenges. Well, again, there are certain things we have control over and certain things we don't at the moment. Obviously, if you can become creative, I know someone like me, I work online, I have that opportunity to do that rather than see people in person. My practice has definitely not been what it was, but it's not too bad because I've been able to do some online work. Not everybody has that opportunity. I understand that. There are people I know that they've been in the restaurant business, for example, and they're shut down, and it's their mode of income. I have a daughter who's a trainer at a gym at Equinox, and that's gone bye-bye, even though they are helping out some, and she's getting creative with virtual training. But my point is, when you can't be creative, what you need to do is practice not adding insult to injury. That's when you have to accept what you cannot change, right? Like AA has the Serenity's Prayer, which is, God, grant me the serenity. If you don't believe in God, whatever word you want to use, life, grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We need to practice accepting what we cannot change and then figuring out the best thing we could do about that. Now, I know some people might even have worse conditions that are listening to this or that will listen to this. There are people that are actually concerned about being able to pay their mortgage or paying their rent. And I understand that. That is, again, when you have to go back to what I said before and reach out. Because taking out your stress on other people is going to add to everyone's stress, including your own. So I wanted to just say that there are things we can do. I know that my own stresses have been about not being able to see one of my daughters who's pretty much locked down in New York all by herself. It's stressful. So what do? I meditate more than I had before. I have the time. I'm not seeing friends near as much. Actually, not at all, at least in person. And it gives me the time to do the meditation so that, sure, I'm still FaceTiming her a lot and I could think about her and get really sad about it. But doing the things that calm down my nervous system. This is a time when we need to have self-compassion and take care of ourselves in maybe better than we ever have in our lifetime. Because we have never seen anything like this in our lifetime. And when we have something like this, we need to meet the challenge of this crisis with more self-compassion. Self-compassion, self-kindness will make it a lot easier to have compassion for the people that live with us and kindness and gentleness with people that live with us. It all starts with you. Are you scaring yourself all the time? Are you judging yourself? Don't live in regret. If only I'd done this or that. Whatever it is, we need to accept the things we cannot change, which is, a lot about the stock market and the finances. But what we can change is how we feel by doing those things that we need to do. Self-compassion, meditate. I recommend meditation because it's the one thing you could do to learn how to slow it down and tune in to yourself. Communicate honestly with each other. Rather than take out your feelings on each other, why don't you share your feelings with each other? Express. This is a time to not be tough and strong all the time, because oftentimes that makes us weaker, paradoxically. Share your fears with your partner. Allow your partner to be there for you and you to be there for your partner. Or, talk about these things with your children age appropriately. And like I said, I'm going to end again with reach out for professional help if you need it, because there's a problem. I stated the statistics. This is a real thing. So there's a lot we can do. There's certain things we need to accept. This will pass. We will make it through. We're a resilient species. And what we want to do is get through this with as much love and as little anger acting it out as possible. So that's really what I wanted to say. It's an invitation to you to take care of yourself, whether on your own or with your loved ones or with professionals. And I wish you the best. And I hope this, of course, ends as soon as possible. But what we need to do is realize that we need to do things intelligently. And I know that we're all being a little bit sacrificed, both financially and socially. And so let's make it as better or as good as we can. And yeah, have a good rest of your day. Take care.